Would you mind not coming to the wedding? You're a high school dropout. It's embarrassing.
I never thought my own son would say something like this to me. Was it my fault for the way I raised him? Is it because I dropped out of school? Or has my son lost his way? My mind went blank, and it felt like something inside me just snapped. I'm Anastasia. I'll be turning 45 this year. You could say my life has been a turbulent journey. When I was 7, my parents passed away in an unfortunate accident. They had been in a bike crash, and by the time I got to the hospital, they were already gone. To be honest, I don't remember much about that time. The feeling of being left behind was more overwhelming than the sadness. My grandparents and relatives took care of the funeral arrangements. I just sat there. I held the doll my dad bought me and wore the hairpiece my mom made, just sitting like a statue. Then I was taken in by uncle and aunt. Living with them, whom I hadn't been close to, felt awkward. I couldn't treat them like my real parents, and the emotional distance grew wider. On top of that, uncle and aunt didn't get along, and the atmosphere at home was always tense. I was thankful they took me in, but it was not a comfortable place to be. I wanted out. So when it came time to graduate middle school, I made a choice. I decided not to go to high school and instead got a job. Uncle and aunt seemed relieved when I left. I found work in a factory. I chose it because they would hire a dropout, and they offered housing. The work was exhausting, sorting pants, unloading cargo, and other manual labor. That's where I met Daniel. He was 2 years older and mentored me at work.
Anastasia, you're always giving your best, huh?
At 16, I had no idea how good it felt to be complimented. Looking back, I was never really praised by teachers or family growing up. But then I met Daniel, and we clicked right away. We got married when I turned 20. Daniel truly loved me and was always by my side, despite how lonely I used to be. My in-laws were understanding too, never mocking me for dropping out of school.
You've had it rough. Good job getting through it,
they'd say. A year later, we were blessed with our son, Henry. However, after giving birth, my health didn't bounce back right away. Dizziness and lightheadedness became frequent, making work at the factory difficult. I asked my employer for an office job, but there were no openings. Sorry, we can't accommodate that right now, they said. There was the option to transfer to another branch, but it was over an hour away from home. With young Henry to consider, commuting wasn't feasible. After discussing it with Daniel, I left my job of 8 years.
You've done your part, Anastasia. You should rest now. I'll pick up the slack.
Daniel reassured me. Daniel was indeed working his tail off, just like he said he would. Not only that, he was considerate of my poor health and willingly stepped up to handle childcare and housework. Tragically, Daniel fell ill and passed away when Henry was just 4 years old. More than grief, I felt a strong sense of responsibility. Daniel was gone, and it was up to me to raise Henry on my own. I started job hunting right away, but with no qualifications and a dropout status, nobody would hire me. I was desperate. Maybe I should have gone back to school for some training, but at that time, I was too preoccupied with raising Henry. While full-time jobs were out of reach, I managed to find part-time work inspecting products at a food factory. With my salary and various allowances, plus Daniel's inheritance, we managed to get by. Our mortgage got covered by personal credit insurance, which was a big relief. Father-in-law and mother-in-law offered us financial help, but it's not like they had money to spare. I respectfully declined. Kind father-in-law and mother-in-law, who always watched over Daniel and me warmly. I wanted them to live their later years without worrying about money. I made up my mind to live on, just Henry and me. From that point on, saying I lived for Henry wouldn't be an exaggeration. I didn't want Henry to feel poor or lonely. If he wanted to watch a baseball game, we went to Major League games. If he wanted to go to a tutoring school, I made it happen. Money and time were no object when it came to his needs and dreams. Without a father, I wanted to love him as much as I could. That was my sole focus. I took on part-time jobs and even side gigs to earn a little money. You know what they say, every little bit helps, and it's true. I managed to save up $30,000 from those side gigs over 15 years. When Henry said he wanted to go to college, we were able to send him thanks to Daniel's inheritance and my savings. But most of all, Henry's brilliance earned him a scholarship, which helped a lot. Good job, Henry. I praised my son as much as I could. Henry seemed shy, but happy. He gained confidence, getting academic awards in college and receiving high praise for his research papers. It was wonderful to see. However, Henry started to change, and not in a good way.
People are just stupid. Like that guy. He's nowhere near as smart as me, but acts all high and mighty.
Henry began to belittle and mock others. He gained arrogance along with his newfound confidence. Henry, you shouldn't say things like that.
Mom, listen. Intelligence is what matters in this world. People like me are right.
Even towards me, his own mother, Henry's attitude started to change. I figured he was still young, and a bit of arrogance was natural. But then he took a weird turn.
So, where did Dad and you go to college?
Henry asked me one evening at dinner. Your late dad finished high school, and I dropped out, so neither of us went to college.
What? Dropped out? Are you serious? In this day and age?
Henry's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. He probably didn't know about our educational backgrounds, since we never discussed mine or Daniel's past with him. But was it really that shocking? The disdainful look Henry gave me is something I'll never forget.
How can you even boss me around? You're just a dropout. I can't even think of you as my mother anymore.
His words left me speechless. Henry, watch your mouth.
Shut up. Don't talk back, you dropout.
Henry's shouting echoed throughout the house. From that moment on, he made it a point to belittle me for being a dropout at every opportunity.
So, because you're a dropout, you couldn't even get a decent job? Don't you think that's really messed up in today's world? What do you think? Are you jealous of me, an excellent college grad?
Initially, I was hard on him. But Henry stood firm, refusing to consider dropping out, and eventually I stopped saying anything. Then Henry moved out as soon as he got a job. He'd hang up abruptly whenever I did reach out, so I decided to limit contact. I thought he'd come to realize his mistakes someday. I was convinced he'd eventually realize his mistakes. But then, on an unexpected day, I got a rare call from Henry.
Can I come over?
He asked. Elated by the rare chance to see my son, I happily said yes. When he was living at home, Henry was always in a foul mood. Now he showed up at the door with a bright smile on his face. And he wasn't alone. He brought a beautiful woman with him.
This is Lily. She's a senior at my workplace. And we're on the same fast-track career path. We're planning on getting married,
he said. I was taken aback, but overwhelmingly happy. Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations. Nice to meet you, mother-in-law. I look forward to our future together, Lily said nervously.
Don't be so formal, Lily.
Right, just relax. We're family now. Yes, mother-in-law. Lily seemed to loosen up after I reassured her with a smile. They left after some light pleasantries. I was overjoyed that Henry, my late husband Daniel's legacy, was getting married. Even if we had grown apart, Henry is still the precious legacy of my dear Daniel. No matter the harsh words or the criticism, he's still my cherished son. Seeing Henry today, I wonder if he's had a change of heart, reflecting on his past actions. His attitude towards me seemed normal, and I felt like we could finally return to being just a regular parent and child. But I was mistaken. That same day, Henry called me.
Don't say unnecessary stuff to Lily.
Like what?
About you being a dropout or your embarrassing job.
Henry started calling me you instead of Mom. It seemed I was wrong about his change of heart. Henry, you shouldn't be thinking like that, I warned.
Shut up. Your low education makes your opinion irrelevant. Stay quiet, dropout,
he said, and abruptly hung up. Nothing had changed. In fact, he'd become even more disrespectful. Where did I go wrong in raising him? I was left feeling like I was on the edge of despair, phone still in hand. Do you knit as a side job, mother-in-law? One day, when Lily came to visit, she saw a bunch of yarn in the living room and asked, Well, yes, I'm not great at it or anything, though. But that's amazing that you do it for work. I've always wanted to try knitting, but I'm so clumsy. Oh, I'd be happy to teach you. Really? That's awesome. When was the last time someone complimented me like that? It reminded me of the good old days when Daniel was still alive. Lily and I started communicating personally, knitting together and even visiting fabric stores. She felt like a true daughter to me. Lily is a considerate and kind woman. The wedding is going to be so much fun. The closer we got, the more I worried about how good of a person Lily was. Would she be okay marrying my son? Henry's the kind of guy who mocks his own mother for dropping out. How he treats his mom will eventually be how he treats his wife. Henry is gentle in front of Lily, but I'm the only one who knows his other side. Should I tell Lily? But is it my place as a mother to ruin my son's happiness? It was a daily struggle for me.
Actually, can you not attend the wedding?
Despite the wedding being just 2 weeks away, Henry showed up at my house to say this. What are you talking about?
You dropped out, right? It's embarrassing. I want my educated uncles to take the parent seats instead.
Your uncles aren't your parents. It's obviously not going to happen.
Don't make me say it again. Don't embarrass me. Just disown me. Having a dropout for a mother is a stain on my life.
At that moment, something inside me snapped. Talking to someone with such thoughts is a waste of time. The abhorrence in front of me no longer felt like my son. Fine, I'll stop considering you my son. Is that okay with you? I calmly told Henry.
Whatever.
Henry scoffed at my words. Then I'll inform Lily.
No, I'll tell her.
No, I'll make it clear.
Stop. Don't do anything stupid.
I ignored the panicking and yelling Henry. Hi, Lily. It's me. Mother-in-law, what's going on? Henry says he doesn't want me at the wedding, so I'll be absent. What? Why? He's embarrassed to have a dropout mom. Are you sure you want to marry such a prejudiced person? I could sense Lily was at a loss for words over the phone.
What the hell are you saying?
Henry yelled violently. I looked at Henry, expressionlessly.
Give me the phone.
Henry snatched the receiver.
Lily, this isn't... Look.
Henry, you're just... It seemed Lily forcefully hung up on him. Henry stood there, still holding the receiver, looking stunned. Sorry, but this is my house. Please leave. I had no hesitation kicking Henry out in his current state. Sometime after that incident, Lily came to visit our home with her family. Just as Henry was organizing his belongings at my place, I declared that I would throw everything away. That's when Henry hurried back to his parents' home. Henry was taken aback by Lily's sudden visit. Lily wanted to discuss something important, so she sat down with her family. Didn't you know? I thought you did, so I never mentioned it, but I'm a dropout too. Lily is 2 years older than Henry. Because she was his senior, they'd never delved deep into their educational backgrounds or personal lives. Henry had assumed that Lily, being competent, and his senior at work, had a college degree like him. Lily said she lost her father when she was young, and her mother when she was in junior high. After that, she was raised by her grandparents. However, her grandparents were already over 70 at that time. Due to financial constraints, she chose to drop out and work. Fortunately, her current employer was understanding and treated her the same as high school or college graduates. Her grandparents had passed away, and she had told Henry beforehand that her uncle and aunt, would attend the wedding. I'm shocked that you're such a bigot, said Lily. Although Lily spoke calmly, her words were filled with anger. Lily's uncle and aunt, sitting next to her, felt the same. Her Uncle Jeffrey scolded.
You're an outrageous person. Aren't you ashamed for belittling the woman who raised you? Who do you think helped you get this far? Why don't you realize that?
Henry, who had never been scolded by anyone else, looked devastated. Lily just watched him coldly. I can't imagine marrying you. Please call off the engagement. Lily firmly told Henry.
Hold on. Call off the engagement?
Henry desperately pleaded with Lily.
I love you. Don't say things like that.
That's when Jeffrey intervened.
Henry, enough is enough. I also ask you to please call off the engagement. She can't marry someone like you. I'm really sorry. What about the wedding expenses, the cancellation fees? I'll pay for half. You'll cover the rest,
Jeffrey decisively said. Henry was just standing there, staring blankly. I'm sorry for staying quiet till now, I apologized. Please don't say sorry, Anastasia. Can I call you that? I really enjoy knitting with you, and I want to continue learning from you. Of course. Although Henry and Lily broke up, I continued to be in touch with her. But I cut off contact with Henry.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Henry, there are things in life you can't undo. I've decided to think of you as gone, as if my son is dead. So to me, you're now a stranger.
Mom, don't say that.
Don't call me Mom anymore. You're not my son. Henry broke down crying on the spot. Abandoned by his fiancée, and even by his own mother, Henry found himself utterly alone. But honestly, I didn't feel a shred of pity for him. All I felt was emptiness. Years later. Oh, Lily, it's been a while. Anastasia, long time no see. After breaking off the engagement, Lily had transferred to another branch, so we seldom saw each other. She told me she's now seriously dating a man she met in her new city. We're thinking about marriage, but we're taking it slow. That sounds wise. By the way, do you know how Henry is doing? Finally, I got an update on Henry, whom I hadn't been in touch with for a long time. Turns out, word got out in the company about why we broke off the engagement, and he became a total outcast. People stopped giving him work, saying he's unreliable for berating the mother who raised him. He was shifted to a do-nothing job. Well, who'd want to associate with someone who'd say such terrible things? He really regrets what he said to you, Lily said. Does he? Well, I couldn't care less now. It's really sad that he only realized this now. Even when Lily talked about my son like that, it felt like she was talking about someone else's problem, not mine. In truth, Henry visited our home once after all that happened. He couldn't stand that I wasn't answering his calls or texts.
Mom, I'm really sorry. I want to mend our relationship starting now.
Henry bowed deeply. But I couldn't bring myself to forgive him. It's too late. Give it up. With those words, I sent Henry away. The last lesson I could offer as a parent was the harshness of the world. Since then, I've remarried.
The tough times you've been through? Let's turn them into happiness moving forward.
Matthew told me, accepting all of my past. I'm incredibly happy now. And maybe, just maybe, this happiness is a gift from Daniel in heaven. I savor each day as I live it. As for Henry, to be honest, I'm not even sure if I feel he's my son anymore. Was that really my son? I can't help but question it. Did I ever imagine that I'd feel this way towards Henry, the son I was willing to give up my own life to protect? No, no one could have ever seen this coming. This is the last life lesson I can give you. In my heart, I make this plea to Henry. All I can do now is sever ties with my son and make him reflect on the gravity of what he's done. That's all that there's left for me to do.